And Mike Hollow, really good YouTuber. I like his content. I don't agree with him on every single thing that he says, but this right here, he's 100% correct on. Because there is a problem within the community that's starting to grow, and with like this cancel culture within the FGC, and to the point where now people are committing suicide, hacks, uh, Smash player, uh, basically took his own life. I think a couple of weeks ago, a new player in the Guilty Gear scene was talking about his experience and how he almost killed himself within the scene. Uh, there's some problems that need to be figured out within the community because some people are, I feel, like don't have the best intentions for the scene.
Hope
So
everyone is
let's see
doing
what Mike
okay
Carlo got to
today.
say.
So, today, unfortunately, we're going to talk about something that is a little bit heavy compared to what we usually talk about with Tekken or Mortal Kombat. It's on the community side of things. And it's not even something that I feel like I should have to tell people, but as a member of the fighting game community and as somebody that is known for being quite outspoken, I think it would be wrong of me to know about this situation and not bring it to your attention. Now, we call ourselves the fighting game community, and for the most part, my interactions with people in the fighting game community are positive. I enjoy my time in the fighting game community and I enjoy the community that I've cultivated. But every now and then there are situations that occur that make you raise your eyebrow, that make you wonder how people process things. And this is going to be regarding a minor, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's going to be with regards to people from the Guilty Gear. I misspoke. Sorry. It's going to be to do with people from the Strive scene, because I know Guilty Gear and Strive, they don't like being associated. I've been told this many times, even though I forget, so my apologies. Now, according to technicals, this is the second, how should we say, offing yourself attempt in the Strive community. And I'm sure there's probably been others, but they just haven't been reported. And it seems like the Strive community is really just trying to outdo the Smash community at this point. And it's
Yeah, because this is you're starting to see it more and more pop up in the scene where people are getting bullied to the point of basically trying to take their own life within the scene. And we as a community definitely need to start standing up and saying, look, if you made a mistake, you made a mistake. I don't think permanent bans are the best thing. I think there should be temporary bans and then probation to see if the person is, corrected the issues that they had. But just this blanket statement of just you're banned, the one thing you love to do, we're gonna ban you from doing it at any tournament, at pretty much at any tournament, any major. You can't even go to your locals anymore. Basically, you're just by yourself and you can play online. But I don't think that's how it should be. It should be a path to redemption somewhere. Or you get this stuff for like the infiltration thing, which we all know about infiltration, the issues him and his ex-wife had, which personally were things that happened outside of the FGC and the community within itself. And that's more like someone's personal life and their personal business. I don't think the FGC needs to start going to the point where now we're going to punish you for things that you've done in your personal life. I think that's when the scene is kind of starting to go off the rails. When you have people saying, no, not only are we going to ban you, we're going to try to get you fired from your job. And we're going to try to basically put it all out on social media for other people to shame you and harass you. That's not the way to go. At least in my opinion, it's not the way to go. But
it's always funny because it's the people that are like preaching love and acceptance or being inclusive. It's always those sort of circles that you have to be the most wary of. At least I know some of the people online that say some nasty shit about me, they're openly saying it. And I can respect that a lot more. But I think it's worse when you have communities that are preaching inclusivity and love and acceptance, and then they do things like this. Now, it's not every single person, but unfortunately, this seems to be a reoccurring thing with the Strive community. There are loads of
hey,
stories that I
it's
haven't
just
even
not the
spoken
Stride
about on
community.
this
It's
channel that
all the
I've left for other
communities.
people to speak about that I know will come out eventually. Maybe another bigger YouTuber will cover them that I've just been like, I'm not touching that. And there's very touchy things that have been going on and very serious things that have been happening in the FGC for quite some time now. So without keeping you in the dark for too long, this is regarding an individual called, I believe the name is Totsubunga. and they posted a tweet longer in it, like a Google document, breaking down what had happened. So I'm going to read it out to you guys, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and feelings on this and how I would have handled the situation. Hi guys, Totsu here. I don't really know how to start this, but I also don't want to make this unnecessarily long, so I'll just get to the point. Someone tweeted out screenshots of me saying the N-word and making edgy jokes about racism. When I saw these come out, I had a panic attack and tried to make things right by myself by drinking acetone. I don't know what the hell that is, but doesn't sound
I guess
good.
it's
I'm
acetone.
assuming it's some sort of acid. Apparently, I was lucky I didn't burn a hole through my throat. I'm fine now, and I realize myself about even properly apologizing is one of the most selfish things I can do in this situation, so I want to formally apologize. The tweet didn't gain much traction, which is why I want to bring more attention to it and set things straight. I joined a server a year or two ago in which the members thought things like racism and terrorism were the funniest things to joke about. I tried too hard to fit in and said things I don't believe and sincerely regret. The screenshots were from about 8 months ago when I was 14, about to turn 15, which isn't that long ago, I'll be honest, but I've changed. I stand by the fact that I never had anything against people of color. I was just making unfunny jokes while trying to be liked by my peers in the server. I've since distanced myself from them and have stopped saying things like that. And then this is a screenshot. I believe this was recently. So insert says, if Frogger was telling the truth about when it happened, a huge if, I can kind of sympathize because we said some wild stuff in Unicode, if you remember, like F-slur because I thought it was funny. Totsuberger replies saying, IG, I did too, yeah, not gonna lie, maybe we should be banned too. Insert says, I like to think I've changed. Totsubunga, says, same, I don't say any slurs I'm not allowed to say anymore. I think that's weird and unfunny. Totsuberger then goes on to say, I don't believe people of color should have to tolerate people saying stuff like this. Regardless of age, I shouldn't be absolved from all guilt just because I'm young and was easily influenced. There should be consequences for stuff like this. If you no longer want to interact with me anymore, I understand. If you wish to ban me from your events, I also understand. I vow to never repeat bigotry regardless of intent ever again. I will be taking a break from the FGC for a while. I apologize for what I've done and I will make sure to always improve myself. Let's break this down.
Before he does that, I'm gonna say this. I can't really speak for Palm. I can only speak for myself. Other, black content creators within the scene. Like, if you want me to sit here and get upset because some young kid said the N-word, it's like, whatever. Like, to me personally, it doesn't even bother me. Like, I've gotten to the point now where it's like, I'm not going to sit up here and get upset and try to fight and shoot and kill someone because they said the N-word. Like, that just lets me know the type of person I just don't want to be around. Now, this young man basically said, hey, I said it jokingly when I was this age, and I've changed and grown up. And if we all sit down and really think about it, we've all said some dumb stuff when we was young. But I can say this, he's at least taking ownership of it. Now, this is a case where they want to ban him, I believe, from the Strive scene. And he says he's going to take a sabbatical from the FGC for a while. This is the kind of person, like, this should be your ban for a couple of months or maybe a year. And then we're going to put you on probation and we're just going to watch you and just see how you interact and see how you behave. It shouldn't never come down to a point where this person is just, people are just coming at this person and forcing them, almost bullying them into almost killing themselves. Like, I'm trying to tap dance on certain things because I'm trying not to get the YouTube censors or the Twitch censors on me, but there's way too many people who get bent out of shape over this word. And honestly, I've gotten to the point, like, I don't really care. Like, if you say it, cool. I just know I know you're not the type of person I want to hang around. And then there's other things where people are basically, when people are joking with friends, they say things like, they'll kind of go to those edgy kind of racist jokes, gay jokes, stuff like that. But you're saying it amongst friends, you're not really taking it seriously. But the fact that people need to understand something, that now we live in the technology age, which everything you do, everything you say is basically seen by everyone and it can be put online. And people basically use that as a way to try to threaten you into basically changing or basically keep you from interacting with certain people. And I just don't see that as the right way, especially for the community. If the community is trying to grow, it needs to be able to talk to these young men and educate them. Because we have a lot of young players coming in, a lot of young players. Look at Blas. He's what, 15 years old? He was just at Capcom Cup. These are young players coming in. And if they see older guys and older players doing all that shit talking and trash talking and just throwing words around, of course they're gonna feel like, okay, it's cool for us to act like this. So the scene can't get mad and say, well, the FGC has been trying to get rid of that old FGC style, which is basically we can't be controlled. We're just wilding out all the time. And the more and more the games have been pushing towards esports, it's definitely been I think an overcorrection on basically policing the community to the point where now if you do or say any little infraction, basically everybody's ready to ban you, everybody with a dog pile on you, and the community's not going to survive like that. Like it can't survive like that. There are nuances to certain things, and the community needs to understand it can't just be seen from one perspective and zero tolerance on everything. If it becomes that point in time, it's already to a point in time now where the scene is almost splitting itself down the middle right now. So I can't tell you. Right now, it's a very tumultuous time right now in I would say in the American FGC. I can't speak for Europe or Japan, but in the American scene, there is a lot of turmoil going on right now, and it's not looking pretty good for the scene.
And go step by step here. Now, firstly, trying to do that to yourself over making some edgy jokes is just no. Like
It's
I get
stupid.
it. Sometimes you
It's
say some
real
stuff in a
dumb.
Discord with your friends. Discords are public, by the way, guys. I've said this 100 times. If you're worried
Told
about
you.
getting caught, don't say stuff in Discord. But if you say some dumb shit in Discord,
Yes, Discord, your text messages, Facebook DMs, Facebook, all that stuff is public. It's all public. And if you want to joke and do all that stuff and be edgy, do understand that there might be somebody in that group or that group message that might not have the same opinion and might see that and say, I don't like what you said. I'm going to blast you on X and everywhere else. That is a true point. It's different between just blatant disrespect, somebody disrespecting you in the game and out of the game. If you're just trash talking in the game, that's just it is what it is, man. We all trash talk while we playing the game. But when it's like personally outside of the game and we're just having a conversation and you feel that need to basically try to overcorrect, that's where that to me where the problem lies. Because like I said, you got young guys coming in, a lot of young players starting to come into the scene because the scene is growing. Small, it's slowly growing, but it's growing. And then it comes to a point these younger guys don't know how to turn it off when they get outside of the game, and it's just like, okay, we're not playing the game, we're just chilling, or we're on X or Discord and everything, and people just start running off in their mouth and being real reckless about what they're saying to somebody. And I'm just like, that's why I usually see I don't really tweet that much or say too much. Not that it's because, and I am been tweeting more, but more so because there's always going to be somebody out there that's not going to agree with what you say, regardless of what you say. You can have the most lukewarm take on something, and there's going to be somebody out there that says, I don't like what you said. Now, to me, when it starts to go too far, is when it's like, I don't like what you said, and I'm going to blast you on X, and I'm going to try to find out where you work at and try to find your information and dox you and basically call your workplace, which I need to get DFF on because he had something about that as well, where people were basically calling this person's job, trying to get him fired. Like that's when it goes too far, from in my opinion.
it is not grounds for you to do something like this to yourself. You will be forgiven. it also helps that you're 14 years old, and
Yeah, like this,
it is very, very,
like
very
you're 14.
unfortunate that
You're a
you
young
were
guy.
surrounded by adults that wanted to leak something that a 14-year-old did without sitting there and talking to you and telling you why maybe it's not acceptable to say these things. Now, I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you. If you've got a close circle of friends that you really get on with, like I do, I've got a very, very close circle of friends, and we're from all over the planet, right? I'm like part Ugandan and German and Greek. My friend is from Thailand. My other friend is from Jamaica. One is from Barbados. One is English. One is from St. Lucia. One is Japanese. Some are Turkish. Like, my group chats are very, very mixed. These are my closest friends. And we say all manner of things to each other. And anyone saying that they don't in their little group chats is lying. But it's in your little group chat with.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like you don't want it to stray away from the roots, but esports within itself forces any game that it's attached to stray away from their roots, because you have to now package this thing and sell it to sponsors. And the last thing a McDonald's, a Starbucks, a Chipotle, any kind of big business want is to see their logo next to a guy crashing out. That's the last thing that company wants to see, is some dude crashing out, wilding out, cursing, going just straight crazy out there. And their logo is right there. Trust me, because we've seen it even with Twitch. Twitch has had advertisers pulling like crazy. Why? Because the advertiser gave them the money to advertise the stuff, and then the advertisers finally, after getting complaints, actually went and saw what is my advertisement on. They're seeing girls in hot tubs, bikini streams, like e-thoughts. Girls got cameras pointed towards their butts. And they like, whoa, hold up, man. This is not a good look for my brand. I'm gonna need you to take that off there. That's why Twitch has kind of been trying to crack down on certain things, because the advertisers are not happy. Because no one wants their name attached to that kind of foolishness. They have a brand, they have an image they want to maintain. And the FGC at its core is not corporate. I know people have been wanting it to be more corporate, but it's not. Like, it's like when people say, well, there's money to be made in the FGC. Like, I came in 2019 really and being more serious in it. And just me going to tournaments and stuff like that, I'm looking around and I'm like, dude, where's the money? That's my question. Where's the money at? Because when I'm looking around at the scene, I'm like, there's no way you can make a living off just being a professional fighting game player. There's no way. There's not enough money in the scene for that. Yeah, hockey does have people that, but hockey's kind of always, it's always kind of been, but hockey's always kind of been known for that. And when you look at their revenue for hockey is, the FGC is not, that's like, we're nowhere near what a hockey, NFL, the NBA, their revenue, they in the billions. When the FGC gets to that point where we're in the billions or we're in the multi-million dollars, that frame rate, then it's not going to care what we do, because the sponsor's going to look at it and say, they're going to look at it and say, yeah, we're going to take, the people going to go, yeah, you're going to take a hit right here because of how they acted, but we can just kind of, smooth it out. We can control it. You even saw it with Capcom Pro Tour when they did with the Mena Knuckle situation. And Knuckle was like, hey, they cut stuff. Yeah, Capcom's going to cut that. They're not going to let advertisers see two guys getting in each other's face, just wilding out and crashing out, and expect their sponsors not to say anything. But if we get to that point where we're making like billions of dollars, it's going to become a lot easier for them to say, you know what? Yeah, they, to smooth things over. But right now, compared to other esports, like Call of Duty, League of Legends, like the FGC is like a drop in the bucket compared to those games. And we're finally starting to see a little bit of money with the Capcom thing and the EWC. But even with those, it's like those kind of tournaments are only really for like the top 1% of players. They're not for the majority of us. Like for me and you, Pun, we're good players, but I heavily would doubt the way they structure the system. To me, heavily favors pro players to actually get in, because especially now when you have to travel to get points, it's like you would have to literally you had to quit both your jobs and literally live on the road like a WWE wrestler, just going from tournament to tournament to tournament and hoping you can win and hoping you can recoup your money. Like when I look at stuff like those $1 million tournaments, those invitationals and stuff, like that's where people want to get to, but they don't look at the cost of it. Like there's not enough money in the scene for people to ignore some of the things that we do. That's what I want to say. I'm gonna say it like that, but we can talk more about it after this.
People that you love and respect, you're saying it to them. You wouldn't go outside and say it to somebody because they don't understand your intent, and you brought up intent in this. And it's good to recognize that these things are not acceptable to say in public. Obviously, like you might find it acceptable, somebody watching this might find it acceptable, and they might say, oh, it's just words, whatever. But you don't really know how the other person's going to react, and you can't really control their reaction. So the best course of action is to not do something outlandish, which is why you have your own little private group chats. Now, I'm not saying that there are not group chats that do some sick and disgusting things. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, there was a report that came out not too long ago that Telegram had a group chat of over 70,000 men who were posting pictures of their sisters and their daughters and their wives doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Like, I'm not going to go into it too much, but I'll put the screenshot up there if you guys don't believe me. It's a pretty disgusting thing. That's one thing. But making jokes with your friends in a private messaging like app like WhatsApp, that's something else. If you want to make stupid jokes that you know are not acceptable in public, I'm not going to hold you to that. As somebody that's half black, that hangs around full black people, sorry, not half black, some half black, we're not going to condemn you for doing something like that. If you were in my Discord and I saw you doing that openly in front of the other members of the Discord, I would pull you aside and be like, listen, bro, or girl, I don't know if this is a guy or a girl, but that's irrelevant. Don't do that shit in the Discord, because Discords are public.
We definitely can do that.
They are other members of the community that you mingle with, but you don't know them like that. You didn't grow up with them. It's like me and my boy Jamie, for example. He's English, he's white, but he knows that he can say anything to me, and I'm just gonna look at him and probably laugh because we're like brothers. So he can say anything. He can walk up to me and, well, I was gonna say do anything. I don't want to give him any ideas, but there's a lot more leeway you give to somebody that you have a relationship with. Same with my boy Shaquem, same with my boy Ricardo.
Very
Fraser, true. Pedro. I don't care what they say to me because I understand there's a rapport there. So that's just a bit of advice. Like, I would not banish you just because you made a couple of edgy jokes. I would talk to you about it, and then if you did it again, I'd just be like, all right, get out of the server because, this is a public domain. Like, you kind of behave at work, right? You don't do things that you would do at home at work. I do think it's pretty disgusting that the members of this Discord or the people in the Strive community that were aware of this wanted to leak this as some sort of gotcha. Now, I don't know if the people that wanted to leak this were black or white. Quite honestly, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you now as a person of color, you're the idiots in this situation, and it is terrible that you would be in a community and you would do this to one of your community members. You could argue that the word is unacceptable to say and they shouldn't be saying it in public. Cool. But you take their age into account and you take your...
Yeah. Is the word acceptable? No, it's not acceptable to say it in public. Yeah. But when I think back, I'm like, man, when I was 14, 15 years old, I said a lot of dumb shit. Like, we all can look back and say, man, when I was 14 or 15 years old, I said a lot of dumb stuff, man. So I can't sit up here and get too mad at this guy. And I guess just because the older I've gotten, the more, I guess you could say, the more conservative I've gotten. I'm kind of like in the middle. Like, I don't particularly care what people do in their personal lives. And I feel like when I come to a tournament, I don't care if you're gay, straight, lesbian, trans, whatever. I treat you as a person. I treat you how I would want to be treated. And if that's not good enough for you, then I'm just like, okay, well, maybe we just don't need to hang out with each other. And I'm fine with just, hey, you go do your thing, I go do mine. But too many people in the scene think every person in the scene is their friend, and not all friends are friends. Just always keep that in mind.
Your age into account and your experience and your standing in the FGC or whatever community you're part of, and you try to better educate that person or just say, hey man, you want to do that in private, do it in private, don't do it out here. I don't think you need to take a break from the fighting game community. I'll be honest with you. I think most normal people that you interact with at events are gonna just be like, whatever, man. You were 14, and from the sounds of it, you're still kind of young anyway. I'm assuming you're like 15 or 16 now. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Intent does matter, and I've seen discords, and we've all seen discords where people are saying heinous things, and just like that Telegram group that I've mentioned to you guys, there's no jokes there. They're posting images of women that they shouldn't be in a group of strangers. You know, that's disgusting and disturbing, but this is different. This is not that deep. And yeah, you can change in the course of 8 months. I mean, you could change overnight. I mean, change has to happen at some point. I could, have my day today and then something happens in 4 hours time and it completely changes my perspective on something. And then I wake up in the morning and a part of me is new, like a part of me is different. So change can happen overnight. 8 months is a very long time to change. So in terms of all of this, I accept you're not apologizing to me. If you were apologizing to me, I would accept your apology. I'd pat you on the back and be like, it's fine. Like, you're a kid. But to the people in this community that constantly want to like gotcha people, they don't think people should have a redemption arc. I hate to find out what skeletons are in your closet. Just be a bit more easygoing.
Facts.
Like, you got to take certain things into consideration. And I think that people should look up the word community in the dictionary a little bit more and try to understand why it's important to hold your hand out for people rather than trying to banish them. Or if you are going to banish them, just leave it at that. Just be like, all right, cool, I don't want you in the Discord anymore. I don't want to talk to you. But trying to drag them on social media, leaking stuff about them because you don't like.
Because most of these people that try to drag you on social media are people who are looking for basically looking for brownie points and social justice points to say, look, this person I found, look how bad they are, see how good of a person I am. They're not doing it for the right reasons. Like, especially with a kid that young, you don't know what that could do to that kid. And we already seen, he said he tried to take his own life. He said it. We can't confirm it or deny it. He said he tried to take his own life. We had to take him at his face value for that. And at least he is taking responsibility. Say, yeah, I used to do this. I've grown, as we all do. We grow over time. Like I said, I'm pretty sure, like I said, when we all was young, we all did dumb stuff. So I just really have a real big problem with the direction the community is going in right now when it comes to stuff like this. Because this seems like we're going to try to force you out to appease advertisers and esports people. We're not going to try to educate you. We're not going to try to basically help you understand, hey, man, it's not cool to do this. We're just going to try to get rid of you, and then we're going to block you from entering any event. So, like I said, I just don't like where it's going.
Something that they said when you know that they're young is ridiculous. It's not a good look. If you feel like somebody's in your Discord saying crazy shit and they're young, just have a word with them. Don't do shit like this, because this Totsubunga or Totsuburger, he could have or she could have lost her life over what? Saying the N-word. Do you feel I'm gonna be kept up at night because somebody in the Strive community said the N-word after all the shit that's going on in there?
I got too much shit going on in my own life to be worried about that.
It's crazy because we have a lot more young people in the fighting game community, more young people than I've ever seen before. I remember going to the arcades and I and my friends were always the young.
And I can attest to that because I've been to almost 6 majors, going to one this weekend, the weekend after next. And when I walk in there are tons of young players in there. I'm talking about we probably talking about 16 to probably like under 25, like extremely young players who are still kind of growing and learning the scene. So this is something that we all need to start taking into consideration when we're thinking and doing certain things.
Youngest ones there. I remember seeing like Dinosaur, and I remember seeing Cobra Commander, and I remember seeing even King J was at some of those places, but I was always the youngest one there. Now when I go to tournaments, or if I show my face at a tournament or an event, I see a lot of younger people, younger than what I was, and I've seen younger people competing in tournaments. So I think as elders in the fighting game community, we have a responsibility to not do dumb shit like this. I mean, I'm not their parents. I'm certainly not going to sit there and wag my finger at them all day. But if someone's young in my Discord server and they think something's funny and edgy, I'll give them a couple warnings. I'll just say to them, listen, don't do that. And then maybe I'll tell them 3 times. And I've actually had to do this before. And maybe they don't want to listen. And because they're young, you know, they've got to learn the hard way. And I know kicking somebody out of a Discord, maybe it can be a little bit rough for them. But there's always ways to earn your way back into something. I wouldn't completely banish somebody as long as they didn't continue to get on my nerves. So I don't know, man. Luckily, this individual did not take their life. That would have been a very, very sad way to go. 15 years old. I mean, life is very, very precious.
Yeah,
I think
but
people forget that.
You way
And
too
this whole,
young,
like,
dude. You got way
public
too much
humiliation
life
stuff
ahead of
we've
you
got
to
going on in
be
the
even
FGC.
considering
I think
that kind of
sometimes
stuff.
people just need to park it a little bit. I know you're trying to get your like clicks in or whatever, but sometimes just pull people aside and have a word with them. I know I've
Yeah.
had to do it plenty of times since my channel picked up more steam, and I have no problem doing it. We are people at the end of the day, and games aside, you should care about your fellow man or your fellow woman. So, anyways, guys, just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. That's Mike Hollow's information. If you want to go check him out, follow him on Instagram and Twitter, or Twitter/X. Check out his YouTube channel, The Real Mike Hollow. He does a lot of good content, has a lot of good live streams. Tom Brady's been on there, Fighting GM, DFF. Like, he's had a lot of good conversations on there. I enjoy his channel. Like I said, we don't agree on every single thing, which no one's ever going to 100% agree on a lot of things. But for the most part, I do agree on a lot of what he has to say, especially when it comes to like the community and right now where it's sitting at. And I just hope we can basically get it together and we can try to build a community stronger and keep it afloat. Talk to y'all guys later. Peace. I'm out.